Yeah, and then with hormones is what you do if you get your hormones working as they should, or not even as they should. Forget about as they should. I don't think we should be concerned with about average hormone levels or getting back to the norm for age. Let's kick it up a bit, get them performing optimally, and your body is going to perform so much better. You're going to use more fat as fuel, more body fat as fuel, and you're gonna reach those fitness goals a lot easier. And I'm sure you've known that. I'm naturally a skinny guy, and now the weight, like I'm at a weight that I like to be, and it's a lot easier to stay here and to fluctuate if I want to fluctuate, just because I've got my hormones in check.
Yeah.
It's crazy how for years I always thought it was calories in, calories out, but
Right.
it's not calories in, calories out. It's the kind of calories when you have them, and it's your hormones, and so it's refreshing to I don't know, be able to create the goals I want to create with my own body, with my clients' body as well, just by a few dietary changes and some good training routines.
Yeah. Well, and let me kind of like reiterate on that one too. Like, I had a client, like I said, that was testosterone was at 130. Normal range for men is between 200 and 1200 if I'm not correct. But
Yeah.
the thing is, like, everybody knows that you take steroids and you get ripped and you get jacked, right? Well, steroids is just, it's just endogenous or exogenous testosterone, right?
Yeah.
And what you have is the ability to make endogenous testosterone from your testes, like you said earlier. And so
And
if
it's much
you're
more powerful. It's a better.
yeah, it's more bioavailable.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, if you're at 400 and you're working out really hard, not getting the results you want, like if all I did was add a little bit of steroids to your mix and gave you 400 more milligrams of testosterone, still within the range of normal testosterone for a man to be producing, you'd get significantly better results. And so that's why you guys on the call, you really got to start thinking about this. Thinking about like, oh, how come, my buddy down the street is always getting fantastic results and he gets to kick up his heels and cheat a little bit more than I do and work out less, and I'm busting my ass all the time and I'm not getting the same results. Well, it's not because of genetics or any goofy stuff like that. It's most likely because your hormones aren't dialed in. So I just want to like kind of hit that point. It's so important that people understand that hormones really dictate physique, performance, muscle, health, so on and so forth. So it's so powerful.
The other thing with men and testosterone is it's been shown to reduce the likelihood of heart disease, like higher testosterone levels, and cancers like colon cancer and different kinds of cancers, and then depression as well. Like when like study after study is coming out, I can't remember the university. It's in the book, but they looked at testosterone and the idea that it's a rage-inducing hormone. But what they found was something completely opposite: is that guys are happier when their testosterone levels are high. And it's a hormone that we need at higher levels, and everything around us, from our diet, some of our training, our environments, plastics are everywhere, and they give off chemical estrogens that work against our testosterone levels. We go through all of this in the MAD diet, but basically everything around us, unless you're living out in the country and eating meat and a diet like we were supposed to eat, is negatively affecting our testosterone levels. So if you're aware of that, you can kind of work your way through this stuff. But if you're unaware of it, you're everything around you is negatively affecting your hormones.
You're gonna spin your tires, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to talk a little bit about carbohydrates, because one of the things I see happening in, paleo land or nutrition land is everybody's kind of gearing towards carbohydrates being the main fat storing mechanism. And while high insulin levels are associated with obesity and heart disease and diabetes and so on and so forth, you and I both know you're not going to be able to perform at your optimal level without some degree of carbohydrates. So where do you kind of tackle carbohydrates in your mind?
Well, they have a huge role. Like, I don't feel good when I'm not eating carbs. I don't feel energetic. I don't feel full, muscular, whatever. They definitely have a role, and they help us absorb protein better, and protein's very important. But I like to structure my carbs around my workouts when my insulin sensitivity is going to be a bit higher, and they're going to go to where they're going to be used rather than stored.
Right.
So I think I think diet is very simple. It's just about timing and about eating the right things at the right time. And carbohydrates are a part of our diets, and they can be eaten. They can be consumed. Just consume them at the right time.
Why can't people get that through their heads, man? I'm in total agreement with everything you said. Like, I always used to tell people, like, eat meat and vegetables throughout the day, nuts and seeds, maybe like 1 or 2 pieces of fruit, and then after your workouts, feel free to kick up your heels and have some carbohydrates. Like, and
Exactly.
drink a lot of water, get some good sleep, work out 3 days a week, make sure you do strength and conditioning, like go for a walk, smile, quit your job if you hate it.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't seem that hard. But on the same note, like I remember a day when I thought that fat made you fat, and I remember going to Costco with my parents and buying a bag of gummy worms because it had 0 fat, and thinking to myself, dude, I can eat all these gummy worms and I can't gain a single ounce of fat. And so like I get it, I was there once. But on the same note, like it seems so simple, but we have to overcomplicate it in our minds for some reason. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of reasons why. I think we've been kind of indoctrinated into believing that this is how it is. Like since a very young age, you look at the food pyramid, you look at what we're taught in elementary school, and what our moms are taught or dads are taught, whoever does the cooking in our household, what they're taught as kids. It's been going on since the 70s. There's I can't remember the book, but it was written, and then before this book, 50s or 70s, before the book came out, most people thought that it was understood that if you wanted to lose fat and lose weight, you'd go on a higher fat, lower carbohydrate diet. But then this kind of book and this philosophy and all this stuff changed everything that we're doing, and now we're actually indoctrinated into this way of thinking from a very young age with this food pyramid that's completely backward. And so it's not even up for question. And like if you're a kid and your teacher doesn't know what, like I remember getting taught about the food pyramid in school from a heavy woman that was a teacher who knew nothing about nutrition, but she had to teach this stuff because the government tells her that this is how we're supposed to eat. And so kids, you can't question this as a kid because it's your teacher, and she'll just say, no, you're wrong, and whatever, get out of class. But we're just fed this information, and we think it's all every adult basically thinks that that's the way things are just because that's what we're told when we're young. Yeah. So I think there's reasons why it's hard to convince people otherwise because they've had this idea in their head for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that's so true, man. That's why we're here talking about this right now, because we're going to get a few thousand people to listen to this conference, and they're going to walk away from this and say, holy crap, I need to focus on optimizing my hormones, cleaning up my diet, eating, if you're a guy, eating more of the man-based diet. And this approach really does probably work well for women. We're talking about it because you wrote a book targeted towards men. But I think that it's just so important for guys like you to have this conversation, just because it's needed information. It's information that we need to kind of change the way the world is going, and it is. I'm seeing like that paradigm shift right now with the rise of the popularity of the paleo diet, and people are talking about intermittent fasting. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of CrossFit has done a lot to bring awareness in functional training in the world, and so there's a lot of things going on right now that are really starting to cause that paradigm shift for people who are interested. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, no, CrossFit's done a lot for Olympic lifting. I think Olympic lifting is the bee's knees. So.
It would have been off the radar if CrossFit didn't come around. It would have been in just like those little tiny halls and nowhere, living in obscurity as the greatest Olympic lifter on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. Can you believe that like the gold medalist from Iran, I can't remember the guy's name, like Razdeha something or other from like early 2000s. He was an Olympic weightlifter in the Olympics, and he was like, his wedding was televised, and he made like millions of dollars, and people were like praising him as like the greatest athlete on the planet, and he was an Olympic lifter. And like in the United States, we have like Michael Phelps and people. We praise our athletes too, but I seriously doubt if our Olympic lifter was winning gold that they would be televised weddings and millions of dollars and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's different cultures. I love those cultures that look at those. Like a lot of the Eastern cultures, like the Eastern European cultures and so forth, even the fighting and then the Olympic lifting, I love that. Just such a pure, simple, those are the purest, simplest sports. Yeah. Fighting, you get 2 guys in there, whoever beats the other guy up wins. So whoever lifts the heaviest weight wins. Simple.
Yeah, it is pretty simple.
There's no controversy. There shouldn't be.
Well, this is a perfect segue to kind of start talking about like fitness-related testosterone boosting, because I know one of the big problems we see, and this is for both men and women, is that people are kind of led to believe that cardiovascular exercise is the answer to reshaping their body. And like even to the degree that like a lot of people are being told about high intensity exercise, but I'm sure you've recognized that a lot of the high intensity workout programs are kind of a masked cardio program. They're not true high intensity workout programs. So what's your take on that? Where should people start with exercise, and how can they create like a program for themselves that'll help them boost their testosterone?
I think every program or every goal, no matter what your goal is, should start with strength. I think if you focus on strength first, you're gonna be more successful at burning fat because you're gonna be able to train harder with more weight for a longer period of time, and you're going to have a base of good muscle with you. And obviously, if you want to build muscle, strength is probably the best place to start, just because you're going to be able to lift more weights for higher reps. Right. So I think every program should focus on strength, and not just powerlifting, but Olympic lifting and functional strength that we can use everywhere, and then go from there. I think even if you want to build muscle, I think you should get rid of that fat with your training first, and then focus on building muscle. I don't like the whole bulking and cutting routine, because that just puts your hormones way out of whack, and that's what a lot of guys do with their training, and it just makes things harder and harder as they go along.
That's interesting.
Yeah, as far as training, I think definitely start with strength for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I have this metaphor I've been using lately where a lot of people are being fed these high intensity programs, and that's like you going out there with your 4-cylinder engine, and you're pushing the pedal to the metal, and you're trying to redline that thing as hard as you can. Whereas if you have strength training, you're turning your 4-cylinder into a turbocharged V8. So now you can not only take those metabolic conditioning workouts further, but you can sprint faster, you can lift heavier, you can tow more capacity. Like when you do strength training, you're really building a stronger engine overall that can facilitate a shorter workout that actually does more for your body than if you're kind of weak and wispy and you have no explosive power. And even further, I've met a lot of people. I don't know if you've trained a lot of endurance athletes, but I've trained a lot of endurance athletes that they have no explosive power, or they don't have a high percent of their strength left. And so you try to get them to do something explosive, and they've got nothing in them because they've been training those slow twitch muscle fibers for so long. And if you can get them to get stronger, all of a sudden their marathon times drop. They actually feel better. Their muscle imbalances start to correct themselves, and so on and so forth. So I couldn't agree more that strength is a killer foundation. You mentioned peeling off the fat first. How do you do that with exercise? Because you were a boxer for a long time. Do you box for that, or do you do other kind of high intensity work?